Hey there, internet friends. Welcome to another episode of That Nerdy Site Show, weekly podcast where the team members from That Nerdy Site get together to talk about our lives and all of the nerdy things we love about them. I'm your host, Trevor Starkey, and joining me once again this week, Cameron Abbott. How you doing, Cam?
Hey, what's going on?
What's going on is we are fresh off the Super Bowl and sitting down to record a podcast. You watched a lot of the Super Bowl. I watched none of the Super Bowl. And so we're not going to be really talking about the Super Bowl. Instead, we're going to be talking today about the Final Fantasy VII Remake demo that came out this week. And then we both played that. And I will share some additional thoughts on specifically the Dondoko Island portion of Like a Dragon, because that is what I spent the bulk of my week doing. I basically got there, got my island up to a 5-star island and then left and went and continued on with the story. So I spent a good probably 15 to 20 hours in Dondoko Island this week. So stay tuned for that. Timestamps in the description below, as almost always. If you like what you hear, please remember to like, subscribe, rate, review, share the podcast with your friends, all that fun stuff. So starting off, we will talk our Final Fantasy VII Remake thoughts here, Cam, and I'll throw it to you. How did you feel about this one? I was already playing it when you got home from work that day.
Yes.
Playing through it and just kind of like breezing through it. It was one of those, I thought about sitting down and recording and doing like a let's play of it, and I was like, nah, I'll just make this for me.
Yeah, for sure. I think that was probably for the best, actually, because I think that it's such a slice of the game. Like, they've cut it out perfectly to pull it up and then have it as a demo. As somebody who the day before was starting to replay Final Fantasy VII Remake, I have to say, just systems wise, I love the improvements.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed seeing kind of like just the slight step up that they took when it comes to combat and moving around and things like that. Very much looking forward to seeing those improvements. There's been a lot of news that came out about Rebirth when the demo came out, because it was all part of a massive press thing. But to focus up on the demo itself, I have to say I was very impressed by it. The opportunity to play Sephiroth is awesome. Just from the get-go, Sephiroth is such a fun character to play as. Not even because he's like quote unquote super overpowered, but just because his moveset with the Masamune is just awesome. Feels great to use.
He's a lot lighter than Cloud's,
Yes.
more like heavy hitter kind of vibes.
Yeah. So if you were to compare the two sword characters that we've gotten so far in both Rebirth and Remake, or just in Rebirth alone, you get those instead of that heavy greatsword throwing around stuff. Sephiroth has that. He also has a lot of range with the Masamune being like so long.
Yeah.
And has a very unique his set of abilities is very unique and cool. Cloud has his typical, I forgot if it's Operator and Punisher. Yeah, modes. Those are still there from the first game. Sephiroth has a different setup based off of it starts off, every fight starts off with it having to charge up, but then as you are in the middle of his sword combo, pressing triangle at a different point in time will start up a different ability.
Yeah, it felt more in line to me with obviously Barrett has like the overcharge that you charge up, and then also Tifa's punches switch up depending on like how powered up she is.
It's continuing.
Triangle.
Yeah, the fact that they gave him, even though he's only going to be in such a small slice of the game, presumably, even though we have like such a small slice of that, presumably that part of the game, the fact that he has that much interesting stuff going on for him is super cool. It's great to see that tender loving care. In the original game, you only got to fight with Sephiroth in a single fight. And so him at one point stepping in is just like, okay, here we go. Story wise, it's awesome. There are so many things now. If you know the OG story of Final Fantasy VII, you know that there's things that you don't pick up on. And I guess you would pick up on them now in a replay if you replayed the original FF7, but it's really apparent this time around in the flashback sequence where you could tell where, like, this is not Cloud.
Yeah.
It's There are so many like Zacharisms that it's crazy, and it's great, and because you're like, I can't wait to like. It's like, yeah, no, because this just. It's not like this is now post the trauma of my past Cloud. It's like, no, this is a completely different person, and Cloud is talking about, like, he's telling Barrett, and then like it's him. The cut back to the inn where you see Tifa looking like really concerned at certain points when Cloud mentions stuff, and I'm like, it must have been so confusing for Tifa, not just like, oh, like I let Cloud like lie to everybody, but like Cloud knows details that
he shouldn't know.
Shouldn't know.
Yeah.
So like in that point, it's like, is Tifa not like it brings up the whole thing of like, Tifa's like, there's no way he could know all of this if he wasn't there. But like, it's so good. It's so good if you're playing through them for the first time with Remake and Rebirth, or you are.
Too bad we've spoiled it for you already.
I'm sorry that I spoiled a like 20-year-old game. A 23-year-old, 26-year-old game, whatever.
97.
97.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
26. Because we're in 2024 now, so like 6.5 basically. But yeah, sorry about that. But hey, it's an old ass game. Gonna move forward here by just saying, like, there's so much going on with this demo that it's like story-wise makes such cool moments happen. Bringing in the Materia, what is it?
Materia Keeper?
Yeah, Materia Keeper fight into at this point is awesome. It was always weird that the Materia Keeper like popped up to be like the like because I'm trying to remember, that's like the end boss of Disc 1, isn't it?
Materia Keeper? No. The Materia Keeper is the end boss in the Nibelheim area.
Yeah.
Just when you're like in Nibelheim with the rest of the party.
That's right.
It's that area where there's like 5 different tubes you can go down, and like he's at the bottom of that. You also you can get Trine from him for your enemy
which
skill.
Is great.
I know that game way too well apparently. That's where you normally fight him in the original game, is when you're there with
the party,
Barrett and Cloud and Tifa. And
tell me again, where does Disc 1 end in Final Fantasy VII?
Disc 1 ends after the Forgotten City, which is where they're ending Rebirth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man, then that makes a like, so for my something I want, like,
I mean, it ends after the big moment.
Yeah, the big moment. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
But they were like, I don't know. There's some stuff that they talked about in an interview. We'll talk about it after you explain like your impressions of it. But I had an amazing time. I already pre-ordered the digital, the deluxe version. I had already pre-ordered it by the time the demo came out. If I hadn't, I would have done it like right then and there.
Yeah.
This demo is exactly what you want it to be. It is that slice of what you want to play. I can't wait for the next demo. It's slated to come out, I think, next week. Or
the 19th.
The 19th. Okay, so actually
19th or the 20th.
Yeah, so in 8 days. I'm stoked for that because I can't wait to hop in and experience the combo move that you get to do with Cloud and Sephiroth is so fucking cool. I can't wait to do more combo moves with all of the party members.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I after playing it, I went and double checked that my order through Square Enix store is still, because I have the physical Ultimate Edition coming that's going to have like a Sephiroth statue. It's going to be 19 inches of Sephiroth to go along with my 19 inches of Venom behind me. So another statue that's not going to fit on my shelves because I am an idiot.
We have to do something about like shelving so we can get those on shelves.
I mean, yeah, like I could, if I just took out one of these shelves, I could do it, but then obviously I lose a whole bunch of other stuff. So
yeah, that's the tough part.
Yeah.
Like what shelf do you sacrifice then?
Yeah. But yeah, I jumped into it. Obviously, we've talked about it already, but we've talked about it at length. But for those that didn't know, it is very much replaying kind of the opening flashback. It'll be a more or less opening flashback that takes place when you get to the city of Calm, which is the first town outside of Midgar in the original game, and you have this big like history dump where Cloud goes through all this stuff that happened 5 years ago, and kind of what made Sephiroth kind of go off the deep end. And so yeah, seeing that like fully realized, seeing the town of one of the things I really loved
Oh,
was
gosh.
the town of Nibelheim
Yeah.
having people in it. Like it feels like a vibrant town. There's a lot of people around there that you can kind of like walk around and overhear and talk to and stuff. Which then makes the tragedy that befalls that town
Way
that
worse.
much more devastating. As opposed to in the original game where it's like you can maybe talk to like a couple people or whatever in the flashback sequence. So that was really cool. I went in and worked on my fourth time. I don't remember which it was. I think fourth time. I finally mastered the piano game to play Tifa's theme.
Yes.
Which was wonderful. And the thing I really love about it is, like the first time I was not getting the timing right, or I was pushing a thing, and the controller was like reading it as like multiple prompts or moving me around or whatever. So I did terrible the first time, and you get a very terrible version of Tifa's theme. And then like each of the 3 other times I played it, I did a little bit better, a little bit like the second to last time I missed one note. And then the final time I got all of them perfectly. And it was a different version of Tifa's theme each time. Like
That's so cool.
They like pepper in more flourishes and like and stuff as like Cloud is playing. And then there is also this fun like meta thing because you finish up and all the your party members kind of cheer you on, be like, wow, I didn't know you a merc of many talents, I think is what Barrett says or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, Cloud's telling this as a story. You didn't actually hear any music just now, party around the inn. So very weird that like that's your response. I love it. It's very
so
cheesy
good.
or
That's
whatever.
so good.
But yeah. And then my other favorite bit, which was a fun bit in the original game, the flashback of like if you go into Tifa's house, she'll kind of comment, "Did you go in the house?" And you say yes. Then you go into her room. "Did you go to my room?" You say yes. And then in her room in the original game, you could find like orthopedic underwear or something like that. And it was like this like weird, uncomfortable thing for you to find in a, however young Tifa is at that point.
She's like 16 because Cloud was 16 at that time.
Yeah. And you basically do the same kind of thing here. You don't find orthopedic underwear, but you do go into the closet and like everybody kind of is like, "Did you really go in there?" And you said no.
I said no because I was like, this is creepy.
I said yes just to see what it was going to happen. And like Tifa and Aerith in unison be like, "Cloud, you asshole." And it was hilarious. And I felt immediately bad and do not plan on doing that in my actual playthrough because I want to go on a gold saucer date with Tifa. And I feel like I pissed her off by doing that. So I'll go in the house and kind of look for her and then play the piano. So everybody's like, "Oh my God, you're great." And then not click the prompt to get that little scene.
I might do it just because I want to get that date with Barrett.
There you go. Yeah. I mean, that's one of those, like, I hope they don't do it, but I imagine they will. It was the last trophy I had to get for the Final Fantasy VII Platinum in the Classic when they like ported it to PS4, was getting like, there is a trophy in that version, going on a date with Barrett. And that was the last one I had to get. So I had to like replay half the game, but fortunately on PS4 it had like all of the like you can fast forward and you can have auto limit breaks and have no random encounters and stuff. So it was like easy enough to do. I just kind of like raced through it, but it was still like having to do that for like one. I imagine given the kinds of trophies they had in the first one of like get all the different dresses, I'm like they're definitely going to do it of like there's a trophy for each of the dates, I'm sure. And they said in the state of play that there are like people that you couldn't date the first time around. They seemed to imply that you can go on the date with them this time. So it seems like there might be more than Tifa, Aerith, Yuffie, and Barrett. So there might be, I don't know, maybe there will be a Jessie date or something like that. Who knows? Very curious to see how all that plays out, as I'm just curious to see just in general how things are the same, how they're different. I loved everything they showed in the state of play. And in this demo, like you said, there's so many things where like seeing it fully realized like this, knowing this game, knowing Crisis Core, it is like, oh my God, the things they're leaning into and the things they're like foreshadowing, even though it's like a retro shadowing kind of whatever it is, are so great and so fun. One of the weird things for me, since we're already kind of in spoiler territory, there is I was fully expecting one of those Shinra guards to just be the same voice actor as Cloud, but they're very clearly not. Like it's very clearly like a fake voice to throw you off the scent.
Oh, well, one of them sounds a little bit like Cloud, but with the different pitch and tone. The other one is distinctly a different guy. That's the one.
I thought so at first,
but did
like,
you look it up and it's not?
I mean, I didn't look. No, but like when I went and like talked to them at other time, like because the first thing you can do is you can go talk to both of those Shinra soldiers, and like in the truck, one of them sounded like Cloud, but once you're out of the truck and you're just talking to them and hearing kind of additional stuff, neither of them do.
Interesting.
So,
for me, I didn't talk to them very much, but in fact, I don't think I actually went up and talked to them at all. But when it was that guard got like stepped in front of Tifa, sounded like Cloud, and then when he stops her from going,
say anything when he just
no, but the effort sound that he makes sounds like Cloud's efforts. And then on top of that, the kind of like I guess technically it's still efforts, but when the guard stops Tifa from going into the reactor.
I thought that's what you were just talking about.
Oh no, I was talking about when he steps in front of the monster and gets hit for her.
Oh, gotcha.
Yep.
Okay.
One is distinctly not that one, and that's the one that doesn't make it.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway.
Also, while we're talking about it, let's just talk how cool Sephiroth is before he goes off the deep end.
Mm-hmm.
He's so cool and rad, and I'm like, oh, I forgot that Sephiroth wasn't always like the fucking worst.
Sure. Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's right. He was kind of everybody's hero, and that's really fucking rough. Because I remember that when I played through Crisis Core, and I was like, man, Sephiroth is like not like is kind of a rad dude, but it's very much like he feels so separated from everybody because of like his strange background as a child soldier, as well as the fact that he feels separated from everybody because of his strength and his popularity and the propaganda and everything. Like Crisis Core has a great moment where it kind of shows like the separation when Sephiroth, the people he saw as his peers, start peeling away from him. And at the very end, what pushes him over is what we see in the Nibelheim demo.
Yeah.
And it's so good. Also, them going over how much he read in just like a couple of days definitely also speaks to his insanity.
It's a week. Yeah. I think it's like 7 days later, I think.
Yeah. It's like
when you finally go to the,
it's 7 days later, but he's read like an entire library full of like journals and academic papers and all sorts of stuff. Like all of that is just research on his birth.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a lot of fun, like seeing Shinra Mansion fully realized.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Admittedly, I didn't. I accidentally, because they give you a different entrance down into the basement of it. So I was just kind of going off the beaten path or whatever. I didn't explore and look for like the places that I know so well from the top down view of Shinra Mansion. So I ended up like accidentally going downstairs, but even going down there and seeing like the door that's clearly leading to Vincent's coffin and stuff is really cool. And then going into the outside that library, but seeing like the Mako tanks that are inevitably where you're going to end up kind of thing were just real cool. I also loved the reactor.
The reactor was so good.
And the extra like how similar it felt to that very iconic like FMV of like the creature coming out and like basically like dying from the exposure to the air or whatever, but like having Sephiroth like slicing the tubes feeding the Mako to them and stuff was just like, oh, this is cool. Like they've leveled up a lot of this stuff, and I can't wait to see just more of that.
One, I loved seeing how old that reactor is. Like you really get a sense.
They highlight it was the first one. I don't remember that being a thing in the first games.
No, I don't either. But also, what I really found very impressive was because somebody who just played through like the first reactor in FF7 or like the first reactor you go through in FF7 remake. Seeing how old and dated that reactor is like, oh wow, this really as we're like looking at kind of like the like crumbling infrastructure in the United States right now and seeing things about like these bridges are in disrepair and like it's like, oh, this feels real.
Yeah.
Like this, it feels. It's not just like, oh yeah, it's busted up. It's like, no, this is like age and deterioration, and these are the things that happen when nobody's maintaining this reactor.
Yeah, no, that was absolutely the. I love that little bit of commentary, kind of as you're hiking up there, and like you just see pipes that are exposed and leaking out the gas. I mean, the fact that there's like little puzzles of you have to clean up the gas that has like, you know, because the doors won't open. So the automated system realizes it's not safe, but nobody is there to do anything about it is fascinating.
And the idea that like Shinra, like it also speaks to like, if you like, I'm also remembering going back and looking through the Shinra exhibit, like the history of Shinra Corps, when you're going through that display stuff in there, I'm like, oh, Shinra is from Nibelheim. Like they're like, they owed like the OG, they've moved to Midgard and where they're at now, but originally they are from Nibelheim. They are from like, that mansion is like the impression I'm getting, this is no confirmation, but the impression I'm getting is, oh, this is the like historic home of Shinra, and the fact that Shinra's mansion, that like the familial estate of Shinra is in such disrepair, and the reactor's in such disrepair, and they have that fancy intro of like learning about the history of Shinra and everything, but it's like, but the actual history, the actual stuff is left to rot.
Yeah.
And it speaks so much to the nature of Shinra Corps and everything about them, everything about the Shinra family, and like how they feel about things and like the way they act. And it's like, it feels so understandable at this point to see like, oh yeah, no, you are, unless it has something to benefit you in the now, you don't care. And it's great to see that kind of like that follow through with the explanation of like Nibelheim's first reactor, all this stuff and seeing in disrepair. And it's like, okay, yeah, like this tracks with who President Shinra is, who we've seen. And it follows through with that in such a great way. Yeah.
They're clearly like there's a comment somebody says of like I think maybe it's even young Tifa, who's like, yeah, the rent on that estate is basically like keeping this town afloat. So Shinra is still paying.
I think it was the tax. She said the taxes on it.
Maybe it's like an automated thing or something, but there's still money funnel into Nibelheim from that.
Yeah.
Estate. So
and you see like they have like communal eating areas in Nibelheim. Like they're not rolling in the dough. Like it's hard living out there.
Yeah. I loved much like the first game, kind of had fun introducing little side characters that either were brand new or maybe had been mentioned. I loved seeing Zangan, Tifa's teacher, kind of fleshed out a little bit.
I'm trying to remember the voice actor, but the voice actor is like a legendary voice actor who's voicing him. He's the fucking best.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
He's like an old school voice actor. He's absolutely phenomenal. And that he's playing Zangan is like just the fucking best.
Nice.
He's so good. That classic, haha, like that voice is so iconic. Shout out to him for being awesome. And doing this role, and like Zangan is also getting to see Zangan in the flashback where he's like rescuing people and doing that. It's like cool because before it's like you run into him in the flashback in the fires and stuff. It's like, yeah, I'm evacuating people, and it's like he's the one that saved, like does this Tifa, and it's like, okay, cool. But now we're getting to see. Also, we see how many survivors of Nibelheim there are. Which I'm super curious how this leads into when you revisit Nibelheim in the proper game.
I mean, I'm curious because admittedly the demo ends before the end of the Nibelheim section.
True.
So,
oh, geez, yeah. Do you think he goes on a rampage and massacres
the survivors? It ends with the iconic Sephiroth going into the fire, and obviously there is a whole journey now up to the up there. So yeah, like. Immediately after that, he could be slicing down all the people that were.
Oh, that's so true. Oh my
surviving
gosh.
up outside of the fire. They're in his path to Genova at that point.
Yep.
I looked it up. Jamieson Price.
Yes, Jamieson Price,
who also voices Reeve in Advent Children and Dirge of Cerberus. I don't know if he's also voicing him in here, but
he's the best. He's if you go through his like catalog, like he's literally voiced like hundreds of voices. He's so good. Jamieson Price is awesome. I will also say that the mayor of Nibelheim was like, I don't remember this at all.
Yeah. Yep. That's very much like like all the, so many of the characters in like the Sector 7 slums or in Wall Market or whatever, like it's like, oh, we get like, this is actually a character. Even if they're just a character here, it's better than like nameless NPC kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, like seeing the mayor have the mayor, wanting to welcome everybody and then being like cut down,
but also being like feeling dismissed by Sephiroth in it when he's going through his madness.
Yeah.
Let's also talk
the photo image or the moment of taking the picture and stuff is like another, like there are so many moments that I can't wait to like revisit.
Yes.
In the like not Gungaga, the live stream flashback kind of.
Well, like, if they do it that way.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, presumably. And I don't think that won't happen until the next game.
Yeah.
Based on where they're saying this one ends. Like that's a disc 2 thing in the original game. But I'm still like, they were doing it in the first game too. And I'm just looking forward to like how they pay off so many of those like little chess pieces that they've set up.
Yeah. There's that. I also want to take a moment though to also mention
dominoes. I guess dominoes is the dominoes they've set up. I can't wait to see them fall.
There we go. Cloud's mom. That's such it's so heartbreaking to see her like fully rendered out and everything. And just seeing her, and it's like knowing what we know now, it's like, yeah, she's saying all the things that like Cloud wants to hear, would wanted to hear from his mom. And to know like the tragedy and like we talked about it after I finished playing through it, I was like, the position of where Cloud sees the Shinra security guard on the ground is where he ends up after the house blows up. The way they are leaving these clues for people who don't know is so freaking cool.
Yeah. Even, I love how one thing I didn't love, the biggest thing I did not love about the demo is how slow you are through that entire, like the town is on fire.
Yes. That was a problem for me as well.
I was like, I get that he's injured and I get that, but like, come on, give me a little bit of freedom of movement here. But going back to kind of earlier in the demo and kind of your first time, visiting around, I loved like one of the first things I tried to do was go to Tifa's house and you couldn't, like it was, you couldn't do it yet. And it's not until you go up to
the water tower
that like opens that up as an option. I loved that as like it's on his mind. And so that's why he thinks to go to Tifa's house.
I did not know that they kept you from going in there because that's the first thing I did.
The first thing you did was go up the water tower?
I climbed the water tower. First thing.
Yeah, when you get into town, you can go to Cloud's house and you can go up the water tower, or you could just not do any of that and go straight to the inn and kind of like proceed the main story stuff. But yeah, if you try and go to Tifa's house before going into the water tower, you just don't get a button prompt. It's just it's a locked kind of thing.
Yeah, he has to look into Tifa's room, which now that I said that out loud, it's like
a little extra creepy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, Cloud, did you used to go up to the water tower and watch Tifa? Probably, but he was also a kid. He was also a young kid.
I mean, given the Cloud we know, I don't think
so. Don't think so.
I don't think he was really interested in that kind of stuff at that time.
That's fair.
He's a late bloomer.
He's a late bloomer. Also, he was a little kid. Like he left Nibelheim when he was like 14.
Yeah. So
we aren't getting into like his like prime teenage years, and his passion was to basically just be Sephiroth. Like he just wanted to be like Sephiroth.
Yeah. Yeah, so much fun there. One thing I loved was the addition of like being able to jump in places. And
yes.
Like I love it and I hate it because I know it's going to make me try and explore all these extra places where there's nothing, where they just don't put anything. And I'm just gonna, because there was already a lot of that in Final Fantasy VII Remake, where it's like I went down to the end of a corridor expecting to find like a treasure or something, and maybe there were Shinra boxes for me to smash or something like that, and I'd get a potion or a Mako shard or something like that.
Yeah. I expect a ton of that.
I did a ton of that just in Nibelheim. I was like jumping around places and being like, this is really cool. I wish there was stuff here for me to find. Like obviously I'm in a flashback, so maybe they specifically aren't. Well, I guess I found a lot of mega potions.
That's true.
To help with some of the combat and stuff. But yeah,
Also, that's another thing too, letting you know like what's it like when you got Shinra backing you
Mm-hmm.
with all the
Yeah.
mega potions versus the regular potions you get if you're not with them.
Yeah.
That's fun. I'm trying to think what else. There's another. One other thing was a shout out to Crisis Core, where and it only makes sense if you know the truth. When Sephiroth asks Cloud, "Are you going to say some words to your sword?"
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's like that makes zero sense unless you've played Crisis Core and you know.
Yep.
Like, it's like moments like that I freaked the fuck out on. It was so cool to see that. Like, just it makes zero sense unless you know. If you know, then you know. And I feel like that's kind of like the tagline for this demo is if you know, you know.
Yeah. There, you just, when you were like, oh, shout out to the Crisis Core thing, I was like, is there a, like, the thing that immediately went to my head was like, is there an Easter egg about the portrait in the hotel room? I didn't think to check that. I didn't think to look for that.
Oh my gosh, I should try. I didn't think to check that either.
There's like, because, yeah, I mean, especially playing through the Crisis Core remaster a couple years ago, there's like the seven wonders of Nibelheim or something that you can kind of do as like a side quest throughout the Nibelheim section stuff. And one of them is like the disappearing, woman in the painting or something. It's basically like a double-sided painting. And like one side means there's something in the safe behind it, or so, and it's just like I wonder if that's in there. And I wonder if I'll see that. I did shout out, or I saw somebody shout this out. So I want to echo it. I don't remember who, so I apologize. But the just completely absurd like post right in front of the inn's person that is not in the original layout. It's just like that's a new thing, and it's like that's hilarious that like that piece of structure is there. Probably very realistic, but also just like weird that they decided to add that in.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, there were a couple areas where I'm like, oh, that's a new thing. Like there seemed like there was like a group doing like yoga stuff, and I don't know if I was supposed to be able to like interact with that. I couldn't. There was nothing I could really do with it. But like I walked up to it, and Tifa or somebody like outside of the flashback was like, oh, did you try and do that? And I was like, no, because it's not telling me to do anything. It's not prompting me anything. Mm-hmm. But then also the church or like whatever when you come into town, there's a lot of people like outside wanting to meet Sephiroth or something like that.
Oh, that's the town hall.
Was it the town hall? Okay.
Yeah, because if you go back afterwards, after Sephiroth's left and the crowd's dispersed, you go in and it's like a pretty simple like clerk's desk. There's like a Shinra terminal there.
Gotcha. I did not go in afterwards.
Yeah, that's what that is.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not a church. It's like a municipal building.
Cool. Had a very church-like exterior. It
did. Here's the thing: if you were to say this used to be a church, but then they turned it into a municipal building, it would work.
Yep. Yeah. It's. I imagine I'm going to sit down and like play through the demo again, like that part of the demo again, before the next phase comes out, just to like take in other things that I just didn't, because I was either rushing through it or just didn't think to be like, oh, I should circle back now that a sequence has passed and I can go and check those other things. Because yeah, I was like, oh, maybe that'll be a thing I can go and do in the in Nibelheim in the later part of the game or something like that. So yeah, I didn't even think to check that out. But yeah, I so much fun. Like I love that they're doing that extra Junon stuff later in the month, just to again whet our appetite. I'm extremely glad I've already committed to taking a few days off the beginning of the March to just enjoy the hell out of that game. I've got like a 5-day weekend basically after it comes out. So I'm not taking the day it comes out because I have a physical edition of the game coming. So I imagine it won't be here until after I'm off work anyway. So might as well work that day and not miss out on the time.
My thing is, if I finish all my Serious Rocks projects by that date, I'm going to take that time off. And play through the game. Because one, I need I need like a break from work.
Sure.
Because I'm already like, let's put it this way: if it was the end of the fiscal year, I would be forced to take some vacation time because I'm already over like the granted limit, like the limit you're allowed to roll over. So that was brought up in like some HR stuff a couple weeks ago.
Any final thoughts on the Rebirth demo?
Yeah, I just realized I've never played the reunion, remaster of Crisis Core.
Yeah.
And I just looked it up, and I found it for like $7 on for a global Steam code thing. So I'll check that out later. Might do that. Otherwise, I might just wait till I get paid this Friday and pick it up and buy it.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I have that physically, so I'll give you.
Do you have it physically? I thought you only had it digitally.
I don't think so. I think I have it physically. So I'll.
If you have it physically, I'll borrow it.
Check in. I'll give you let you borrow my copy of it.
Because hell's to the yeah. Because I know, because I can look right there. I see it, the PSP version.
Yeah.
Like right there.
Yeah.
So yeah, no.
We'll find out.
One way or another, I think that's what I'm going to spend some time in and play. Because it's like, what, 30, 40 hours?
I mean, it depends on... It can be way shorter. The bulk of that time is if you do like all of the like the simulator missions and stuff.
Oh, maybe I won't do that.
That's what most of that game is, because it was originally a PSP game, so it was like those are the things you can do in bite sizes and stuff.
That makes sense.
So if you're just mainlining the story, it's way less time than that. Like the bulk of the playtime is going through mission by mission.
But is that how you like level up and get more items and stuff?
It's how you get like the best items in the game is certainly
see.
by going through that. But you can do like a bare minimum and you'll probably be fine.
Sounds good.
Cool. Then let's move over into the other topic of the show. My time continued with Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth specifically. Like I said,
Dondoko Island.
Overall, I'm in chapter 7 now, so about halfway through the game, I think. But yeah, the bulk of my time this last week was spent in Dondoko Island.
Dondoko Island.
Yes. All 3 O's. Dondoko.
Dondoko.
Yeah. Which is the Animal Crossing minigame kind of thing of this one.
It's the big business thing for this game, right?
Yeah. Yep. Very fun. I mean, it very much is, an Animal Crossing like. You run around instead of you run around with 3 tools. You have your bat, your iconic Kasuga bat, which basically serves as like an axe/hammer that you would get in like other games of this ilk. So that's what you're using to destroy all the piles of trash, as well as cut down trees and smash rocks for all of the like core materials and stuff.
Hells yeah.
And then you have a harpoon for fishing, and a net for like bug catching and stuff. So you can go to like specific fishing locations and launch your harpoon at fish, the fish shadows in the water. There's like small, medium, large, and then like extra large. So it's like if you hit a small fish, 1 hit with your harpoon will take it out and you get it. Medium 2 hits, large 3, and then the extra large is like 4 hits. And basically as you upgrade your tools, they just have a faster like either swing time or like you have to like charge up to like ready your harpoon throw. With a fully charged up one, it goes pretty quickly, versus like a couple seconds to charge up and be ready to throw. And then the net, you're just doing kind of general bug catching. If you get too close, bugs will fly away, or if they are terrestrial bugs, they will slither away or squirm away or whatever. There are various much like Animal Crossing has like the fossils and like the little knickknacks and stuff you can find on the ground. There are like different mushroom types you can find. There are little sea treasures that you can find that are going to be like, clams and I believe they've done this the last couple where it's like there's a base level, then there's a silver, and then there's a gold, and those are subsequently more rare. As you are collecting these items, you're building out your Dokopedia, which
sorry, this is the name.
Yep.
The name gets me.
The first time you get an item, it'll be a 1-star item, which has like a certain amount of popularity that gets added to your overall level. And then as you like, if you collect more of them, you'll get up to a 2-star and a 3-star and a 4-star and a 5-star. And each of those you get like substantially more popularity with the item. So that's one way to build popularity. The other way is through just furnishing your island. You can craft a whole bunch of stuff, and basically it is everything that has been in these games. You can one of the things I built was La Marche. I built Bantam. Like
Nice.
you can build iconic buildings in Kamurocho. You can build you can build generic like office building kind of thing. Those end up requiring a lot of resources to do.
sure.
So a lot of the stuff you're going to be building kind of early on is like a park bench or sushi bar signs that'll, light up and stuff like that. And you just kind of like pepper those around the island. So your island ranking is based on two stats. One, the popularity one, and then also satisfaction. That was a weird sound happening outside our doors.
Sound like a car or a truck dragging like something metal
dragging
across
like a
the street.
sign. Interesting. So popularity and then satisfaction. Satisfaction is goes up most. Increases significantly with like the buildings, but you'll also get like a little bit of satisfaction points with a lot of the smaller items and stuff. You can also eventually start to eventually you'll unlock things like you can run a commercial and that'll increase popularity, or you can do various like challenges that'll increase your satisfaction rating for your guests. Eventually, once you start kind of unlocking parts of the island, you'll start being able to house guests and invite guests. Every guest will have like kind of a checkbox of 4 things that they're looking for. And the guests themselves are tiered. And the tier of a guest is going to be like, here's how much money they have to spend on your island. You can add things on your island that like some of the furnishings and stuff will increase satisfaction for your guests. Like it'll be a satisfaction up thing. So like if a guest interacts with it, they're happier with their stay just outright. In addition to like it affecting your overall score. There's also a segment of items that are like Doko bucks up. Doko bucks are the like Dondoko Island specific currency, and that's what you're using to like pay for items there. And also if you sell items, that's what you're getting in return. And Doko bucks are, basically people are coming to the island with a set amount of Doko bucks or they have Doko bucks. And so you can like plop down, an arcade machine and that'll be a Doko bucks up kind of thing. And people can like spend money at that arcade machine and you'll get a little bit extra money from them, during their stay. Stuff like that. The other facet of the island is it has been this. I mean, I guess the story of Dondoko Island is it is in disrepair because a series of polluters have kind of taken over the island. They're called the Washbucklers. They're basically pirates that just are dumping all of their trash everywhere on the island. And so that's the thing that you like every morning. You can go and like smash piles of trash, and you're going to collect, cloth and glass and and the building materials that you can use to craft all these other things. And then you'll also have random guys that will be like, patrolling parts of the island. And as you want to kind of expand into other areas of the island, you kind of have to like take over the area from the Washbucklers. So you basically have to just swing your bat at them and beat the crap out of them. It's outside, like you're not going into combat, you're not fighting. It's much more akin to like the old Yakuza games where it's like, it's just you're swinging your bat and a few hits takes these guys out, but they'll also be swinging their bats at you, which means you also have like health while you're on the island. You start out with 3 hearts, and the way you can restore hearts is by eating souvenirs that you can craft on the island. You can either eat them and they'll be like, oh, this gives you 2 hearts, or you can give those out as gifts to your guests and stuff like that, and that'll increase their satisfaction while they're on the island. And you can increase kind of your maximum hearts by furnishing your house that you have on the island.
Oh, cool.
And basically like the higher satisfaction rate of things in your house, the more hearts you can get. And you can kind of expand your house a couple times so you can fit more things in there too. And so, you can max out. I maxed out at 10 hearts. And it's like, if you go into my house, it's just a clusterfuck of things. There's no rhyme or reason to it. I wasn't trying to make it look good. It was just, okay, these are things I can craft. So I'm going, and you also have Doko dailies, which are like daily challenges to do. So like one of them might be craft 3 DIY things, aka craft 3 furnishings. And then another one might be like place 3 furnishings in Kasuga's house. And so if you do that, you get a few extra bonus Doko bucks by completing that challenge. Others will be like cut down 5 trees, catch 3 bugs, whatever. And so you kind of get rewarded for these little daily challenges to do. So yeah, as you put more and more stuff in your house, you get more hearts and more health and kind of you can have an easier time taking on your enemies. I never once like fell down to 0 hearts, but there is like so as with like your Animal Crossings, or I guess less so Animal Crossing, but like your Stardew Valleys and stuff, there is a day night cycle kind of thing. And the game will prompt you basically when it's nighttime, and you can stick around and still do stuff, but it'll be like, do you want to go back to the house now? If you don't, and if you stay out basically past like the end of day, there's no like, oh, you get sick like in Harvest Moon or Stardew Valley or something like that, but you don't restore hearts overnight. So if you took damage during some fights around the island, you won't get those back automatically. Otherwise, if you go to bed at any kind of normal time, you'll get your hearts back and start your day kind of fresh and full. So those are kind of the fun little things. Your ultimate goal is to become a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-star resort island, and each of those levels has like challenges associated with them. One of them is going like, for the most part, they are reach this level of satisfaction and reach this level of popularity, and then like 2 that are clear out this next part of the island, clear out this next part of the island.
Nice.
And to clear out a part of the island, not only do you have to like fight off the enemies that are there, you also have to like basically pay the kind of the architect out there to fix the island, because like all these areas will have like purple mist that is basically signifying the ground here is so polluted, even when you get rid of the garbage, that needs to be cleared out and taken care of first. And when you first go into an area, it starts as like an F tier, which means it will cost a crap ton of money to clear out. But as you like bash trash against that daily, if you bash enough trash, it'll drop down to an E tier and cost less to fully clear out and restore that area. And then if you can get it all the way down to an S tier, where it will basically be as cheap as it's going to be to clear out. And then at that point, you can pay the money to have it cleared out, and that area now becomes open to be able to build on and stuff like that.
Nice.
So yeah, like there were a couple areas where I was like, well, I've got plenty of Doku bucks, so I'm going to just go even though this is right now at a B tier, and I know that if I, spend another couple days just clearing the trash in that area, it'll go down to an A or even an S tier. I've got the money, so I'd rather get things, built up here and start working in this area now. So it's kind of a, trade-off in that regard of how much time do you want to spend versus how much money do you have that you can put towards that. Similar to the guests having like F through S tier in terms of like that, fuels the amount of money they have, as well as like how difficult their requirements are going to be. You also have F through S tier lodging that you can basically pay.
Nice.
You have to buy specific lodging that people can stay in. It's not one of the things you can furnish. So like you can buy a tent, a simple tent that can house 4 people. It's F tier, so your high-end guests aren't going to want to stay there at all, but it's a great starter thing. You plop that down in an area. You can have they break the island out into like the southern portion and the northern portion, and the southern portion is kind of where you start, and the northern portion is where you've started unlocking other things. At the beginning of the game, you can basically put people in one place. Then eventually you can do like 2 in the southern, and then eventually you can build up to 2 in the southern and 3 in the northern portion of the game, of the island. So you can get up to 25 people, because the most the most a housing thing can do is 5, and those are like your A and S tier places. So you can have like 25 people. As people show up on the island, you can go up to them, you greet them, you wave at them, emote to them, which is a thing you can also do kind of back in Hawaii. You're emoting to people, and people are becoming your friends and stuff. So
Nice.
you do the same thing here. It increases their satisfaction. You can also give people a gift once a day.
There you go.
Either a thing that they're specifically looking for, which will usually be one of the like requirement things. I got in the habit of just giving them. So of the easy things to craft, the souvenirs that you can craft. The easy ones are like a clamshell bra, sake, and sardines, like doko sake and doko sardines or something like that. Dondoku sake, dondoku sardines.
Dondoku clamshell bra.
Dondoku clamshell bra, dondoku sardines, dondoku sake. So I would just kind of have like those 3 items in abundance in my inventory.
Yeah.
And I would run around. I'd be like, all right, thematically, I like if you give a gift, it will say this person's satisfaction increased X X number or whatever, like 220 or something like that. So if I'd paid more attention to that, I could have very clearly been like, oh, let me give them the thing that they actually want. But I got to the point where I was like, I'm giving the women clamshell bras, I'm giving the men sake, and then there's like a few children that show up, and I was like, neither of those things feel appropriate for you, so you get the sardines.
There you go.
Just
Trevor out there denying children their dream of getting sake and clamshell bras.
I mean, I did occasionally give the kid sake, and he seemed to like it just fine. So yeah, those are the elements. Once you get to a 2-star island, you get this additional Dondoko farm that you can go and visit.
Nice.
Which is basically like a raft off one of the beaches that you can go, and it takes you to a whole other kind of area where you can use the Sujimon that you've collected over the course of the game, which are used in the like Sujimon League and Sujimon, like the Pokemon ripoff kind of stuff.
Yes.
You can assign, there are like 4 stations, and you can assign Sujimon at each of those 4 stations. And it'll be like, those are more kind of timed things. So it's like, okay, you can assign for a 10-minute block of time here, you can assign a few people, and they will earn you some extra Doko bucks. And if if they're super bonded with you and they're the right type, that'll increase your chance of getting like huge gains. So maybe instead of 50,000 Doko bucks for a job well done, you'll get 100,000 because they hit their goals or whatever, their milestones. There's that. There's like a farming one where you can basically have them, grow any of the crops that you can get on Dondoko Island. There's one that's basically like foraging for garbage and stuff. So you can get specific resources that you're looking for. And then there's one that's just training them up. If you want to just say like, hey, I want this level 1 Sujimon to, increase their level, not do anything necessarily Dondoku Island related, but I'm going to use them in the fights. So let me go ahead and like train them up, improve them. You can do that. So those are kind of the 4 things out there. But also on this Dondoko farm area are just a ton of the like resources and bugs that are scattered around, and like the high end garbage that you can smash and stuff. So there's just a ton of stuff to get and collect there. And yeah, that's I think that's pretty much all of the big points of it. As you go through like each kind of time you hit a new star level, you start kind of unlocking part more of the story of the Washbucklers and why this pirate Hook is out here kind of trying to destroy the area. You have a couple mascots that you're constantly running around talking to, and who are the like daily announcement radios, and they'll like kind of jump on the intercom and kind of give you they'll give you warnings and heads up of like, hey, there are suspicious people on the island, which is basically a flag of like, go attack those people before they destroy something on your island. Especially, you don't want them to destroy the housing.
Yeah, the expensive stuff. Yeah.
I think they specifically will target like the tent that is housing the guests, because if that gets destroyed, the guests are like, well, we're out. Because I never came across it, but it is definitely possible for guests to basically, the guests come and if all goes according to plan, they stay for 3 days and then they leave and you start a new cycle. A new set of guests come in.
Yeah.
But if guests are incredibly unsatisfied or you aren't giving them anything or whatever, they can theoretically leave early. Never happened to me, but the game kind of sets that up as like the threat. If you aren't treating them well, if you don't treat your guests well. So yeah, they'll kind of give you like heads up of like, hey, this is here. You know, these people are on the island. And so yeah, one of them is voiced by Sam Riegel, and he's basically just doing the Teddy voice from Persona 4 Golden. So
that's what you want to hear.
It's funny.
That's what you want to hear right there.
Yep, Muku. Yeah. So yeah, it's just a very fun little Animal Crossing pseudo Stardew Valley-esque kind of minigame. Had a ton of fun with it, and was just having a blast, like filling up my island, building all these crazy like buildings that I know, but also, you know, hey, I built a host club because that's going to make me a lot of money, or I built, you know, there's like building an adult film store or something like that.
Okay.
It's like you can build the seedier parts of Kamurocho or Sotenbori or, you know, Yokohama and stuff. So they definitely lean into the things you can kind of build. And I imagine there at some point you kind of unlock a feature where you could open your island up and you could go and visit other islands and see kind of what other people are doing. I did not bother with that. But I imagine there's some creative people out there that are just doing whatever they can to kind of build out, you know, Kamurocho and kind of like lay out the buildings akin to how the buildings are laid out in Kamurocho. There's not at least I've not found a Millennium Tower. Maybe there's.
Now that'd be classic, right there.
I will say the thing that I found. So as you go through the game, or as you go through the island stuff, one way to get new guests to come to your island is like doing the commercials. When you buy commercial time, which are like 100,000 Doko bucks or something, and then there's an online version that's 200,000. There's like a local and then an online. But when you run a commercial, a few new guests will be like, hey, they've heard about your island and they want to come visit. So they'll like, when you start kind of the 3-day run of things, you basically can plot in like, okay, these are the guests I want to go ahead and have because these are the ones that I match all 4 of their things versus, oh, this guy I only match 3 of. Maybe I'll pull that guy who I only match 3 of because he's going to bring in so much more money, and I'll just give him extra. I'm just going to make sure I give him gifts each day, and I'm going to do whatever I can to try and get him the best experience and get as much money out of him as I can versus like the, you know, person I have 4 who's like an F rank who doesn't have any money to give me anyway. One thing I found after finally going back and continuing on the game is there are a lot of characters back in Hawaii, and presumably once I get back to Yokohama, who now have like a little palm tree icon over their head on the map. And it's like, I could talk to them and basically tell them about Dondoko Island, and they will become a new potential guest that can come visit the island. So like some of that is the people who were in a sub-story. I finished their sub-story. I go talk to them and they're like, oh yeah, I'm doing this. I'm doing really good now. Great. It's like, but you know, I'd love a vacation or something like that. And it's like, well, I've got the thing for you. Go to Dondoko Island. And it'll be like, so-and-so is now available as a Dondoku Island guest.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, it's a thing I didn't realize until after I was already 5-star and done. The other, but on that front, like there's still a reason if I want to go back and do Dondoku Island stuff, there's still a reason to do it because each of those 3-day cycles where the guests are leaving, not only do you get Dondoku bucks, but you also get actual dollars that will go back and transfer back into kind of the main game to kind of carry over. And so I think I was telling you, I started the Dondoku Island stuff with $50,000 in currency, which is, you know, after 30 hours of playing the game or whatever. And when I left Dondoko Island, I ended up leaving with over $600,000, almost $700,000. Because there is also, and I didn't know this at the time, but when you leave, you basically catch a dolphin back to Hawaii. The dolphin kind of, you know, rides you back in. And if you want to go back to Dondoko Island, you go ride the dolphin back. But also like when you talk to the dolphin, you have two options. One is return to Hawaii, and another is like convert your Doko bucks, and you can convert up to a certain amount of Doko bucks into real currency and stuff. So, so yeah, when I did that and basically converted everything I could before leaving, I was at almost $700,000 going back. So, and the a lot of those were like your rewards for getting like 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, but my last little run there, which was like all of my S rank guests and a few A rank guests and stuff, A and B rank. Basically, the highest level guests I had, I made $34,000 on for that 3 days of just kind of like running around, saying hi and giving them gifts and stuff, which is still very good, return for investment stuff. So if I decide to go back and be like, that is going to be an easier way for me to farm money maybe than some of the other options that I have. So if I'm like, hey, I need money now, I can go back and do that if I want to. So Dondoko Island, a lot of fun. It's definitely like a far more engaging version of the like management sim game from the last game and from some of the other games in the series, because it is just so much more active and you're doing so much, and also they learn so much of like from the complaints of like Animal Crossing New Horizons stuff. So for example, anything I threw into storage, I could auto build from. Like I didn't have to have it in my inventory when I'm trying to build out a thing.
That's what I'm talking about.
I could also sell from that. I didn't realize that at first.
Oh, that's so nice.
When you're going, because there's a general store who's basically like the guy who runs the island, Matayoshi. You can basically buy some things from him. You can buy some items from him that will give you like additional resources and various things. Because there's also like a daily, like once you clear out an area, it's not going to have the piles of garbage for you to bash anymore. And the game's even like, well, I don't want to, trade in the resources that I was getting from that necessarily. And it's like, no, don't worry about it because we have this collection area. So you'll still get all of the resources that you would have gotten, but you don't have to spend the time bashing that all out now. You just go and collect it all from the thing each day. And so you can get basically a whole bunch of like free resources each day from there. Matayoshi, if you go and sell items to him, there'll be like you can sell from your inventory, but then also you can R2 and switch to your storage and you can just sell anything you have in storage. So I got to the point where I was like, all right, I'm going to just put everything in storage so that like I can, grab and forage as much as I can around the island and stuff. And there's also plenty of like storage containers around the island. So if you're on Dondoku Farm, trying to clear out things there, you can put stuff in that storage and it's just a communal storage, so you don't have to like be like, oh, I need to go back to the Dondoku Farm storage or anything like that. So yeah, just a lot of like quality of life things that like Animal Crossing never got right, that I just really enjoyed and appreciated. And it's just a lot of fun. Had a great time with this game. And you can also find throughout the main game a lot of the like shops that you can go to, or especially like a lot of the games where it's like, okay, you're going to get points for this kind of thing, but then you can use those points and exchange stuff. There will be blueprints for like specific items. And I was reminded when I got back that there's a place where you can cash in your points. I think it's the Sujimon League stuff. You can cash in points for like a golden Kiryu statue and a golden Majima statue. And I was like, damn, I forgot to get those because I definitely want to have those built on my island, and just have them, as the fun little decorations and stuff. So ton of fun. I filled out my Dokopedia. I don't have everything at 5 stars, but I have at least some of everything. Just a ton of fun with it. And it's something that I can easily just kind of lose time doing, much like I did for hundreds of hours with Animal Crossing New Horizons. I think the thing that I especially liked about this versus New Horizons was there was much more of a like driving story. As opposed to like Animal Crossing is just kind of do whatever you want. This was very much like, here are the things. Oh, one of the island buildings also have kind of 4 types. And this goes into like a guest might be like, I want to come to an island that has a high level of pop, or a high level of elegant, or a high level of sleazy. There's pop, sleazy, elegant, and rustic.
Sleazy, gross.
Sleazy, yeah. Sleazy's like the host clubs and the adult
sense.
shops and stuff like that. But also like the tobacco shop, I think, is sleazy and stuff. So, but it's and you can like you're not. It's not like a percentage of like you're using pop at the expense of the others or something like that. It's just like they're all on a bar chart, and so the more elegant you put, the better level of elegant your island is. But you can also do so. My island is now maxed out with pop, sleazy, elegant, and rustic. It's got all 4 at max, and so anybody who comes to my island is getting like all of the things they want are there. But yeah, that was a cool little extra thing as well in terms of just like, oh, this particular guest that I'm trying to appease, I have 3 of their 4 checkboxes, and the one I don't have is they want a really elegant place. And I'm like, just a little bit under the threshold of what they're looking for. So let me go and specifically decide I'm going to build, the thing I'm going to build today is an elegant building or an elegant thing that'll give me, extra elegant points towards that total, and maybe try and get that person up to 4 checkboxes so that they're going to maximize their satisfaction stuff. And then lastly, there is the same kid who comes and you can basically buy souvenirs from, or you buy commercial airtime from. You can also, once per like 3-day cycle, you can pay him to set up a campfire. And then basically at the end of that night, you'll get a little cutscene of Kasuga like playing on a guitar, KK Slider style, but like yelling angry heavy metal kind of lyrics about, we're dining in hell, but like everybody is, around dancing, and it gives a satisfaction boost to everybody on the island. All of your guests get a boost for coming to the big bonfire party.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun. I think you'd have a lot of fun with this, knowing your Stardew-ness and stuff. And it's a very fun like twist on Stardew stuff.
Listen, I have been so sold on this since you started explaining it. Mm-hmm. When you were like, and then you unlock a farm, and I'm like, okay. I was in like the classic gif from Django Unchained, like you had my interest, now you have my attention. Like you have my attention, sir. This is yes.
Yeah. It takes till chapter 6 of the game to unlock it, but even there, like took me longer to unlock because I was doing like all the sub stories and stuff as they were coming up each chapter. But you could definitely get there pretty quickly, and then it's just a thing you can spend a bunch of time in and have fun. It could easily be its own little standalone Like a Dragon spin-off thing. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they did. Like if they were like, hey, yeah, let's go ahead and do a $30 Like a Dragon Dondoko Island standalone experience kind of thing. Lots of fun there. So I think that's also just one last little thing. You collect blueprints either through like buying them at shops and stuff like that, or every day on your island, if you go around like the various beaches of the island, there will be like bottles that you can pick up that are like messages in a bottle, and the messages are blueprints. So you'll be like, oh, I've unlocked a blueprint for this. Also, as you're building up your build level. So like at level 1, you have a certain set of blueprints. And then by the time you get up to blueprint level or build level 5, every level you'll unlock new things. So it's like, okay, you've reached, build levels 10. So now you can start building some of these, big buildings and stuff like that. Like, getting La Marche as an option is like a level 46 or something, super late game in terms of like your build level. But so that's another element that is also kind of pieced out over time in terms of how you can start collecting a lot of these blueprints to build from anyway. So yeah. There's a lot of time on just specifically the Dondoko Island minigame of Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. Definitely had a ton of fun with it, and it'll be very interesting because the Let's Plays that I'm releasing, one basically ends. One is the start of chapter 6 up through I go to Dondoko Island. I spend the first few days on Dondoko Island and get it to like a 1-star resort. I'm like, okay. And, I'll probably spend a bunch of time doing this. And then the next episode picks up my last day on Dondoko Island, where I've got all of my S rank people. I've made a butt ton of money. I'm going to do like one last, intake in cash, and then I'm going to go back. So it's, I go from that 1-star to I'm a 5-star resort. I've been a 5-star resort for a while. I'm just breaking in a whole bunch of extra cash. And now we're going to go back and continue the game. And that was, 20 hours in between those two Let's Play points.
Okay.
That'll come out in, 3 weeks time or something like that.
There we go.
So yeah, definitely stay tuned for that. You'll get to see snippets of my island in that series. Like I said, there's no real rhyme or reason to it. It's very much I put things where I had room to put things.
Yeah, you are not an organized island maker. I know that.
Yeah, my island is clutter. My house is full of clutter. Especially when it was like, okay, because your house is like in 3 phases. One, there's like an initial room, then you expand that initial room, and it does kind of the Animal Crossing thing where it's like, okay, it pushes the walls out on each side, kind of thing. So if you had a whole bunch of stuff in there, now it's just a whole bunch of stuff in the middle of the room, and there's a whole bunch of empty space. And then there's like, okay, you can get a second story. And so once I got the second story, I just threw a whole bunch of stuff in there and never went upstairs. And so it's just, I've got a whole bunch of junk in the attic of my house that are helping me get those 10 hearts.
There you go.
So yeah, lots of fun. Shout out to Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. A very fun game with very fun things to do in it. So I think that is going to do it for this episode. Thank you, Cam, for joining me to talk Final Fantasy VII Rebirth demo and Dondoko Island, or listen to me as I gush about Dondoko Island.
It was well worth hearing. Knowing what you've been like, knowing how much time you've been putting into this game, hearing kind of like the results of it has been very fascinating.
This is what I've been doing when you've seen me over here in this position and we're not podcasting. Let's go around the table with any plugs we might have. You can follow Cameron at Rev Cabot, 2 B's and 2 T's. Anything you want to give a shout out to there, Cam?
Yeah, I want to give a couple of shout outs. First off, shout out to all of our friends who are Kansas City fans for the win in the Super Bowl. Looking at you, Cam Hawkins, especially. Much love to you. Also, my condolences to our friends and fans that are Niners fans. That was a brutal, that was a tough game to just like sit through, just because of like how just the way that it worked. I'm not going to spend time going over like my feelings about the Super Bowl game this year.
I mean, the thing I will say is because I was only like checking in with it via like Googling Super Bowl 2024 and seeing like the score results and stuff. And so seeing that the game had gone into overtime and then seeing the 49ers got up and it was like 22-19, I was like, wait, doesn't that, like, I thought overtime means like the team who scores first wins. I thought that was how the Super Bowl happened, or I thought that was how football games happened, even the Super Bowl. So I came in here and talked to you about it, and you're like, yeah, no, this is the first year they've changed that rule, so each team gets a possession. I was like,
and it's only in the Super Bowl.
Oh, it's only the Super Bowl?
It's only in the Super Bowl.
Like, fascinating that there's absolutely going to be a bajillion conspiracy theorists dealing with this in the future. They were already thinking that, like, Taylor Swift is a conspiracy, on this whole thing. So that's only going to, it's only
that she's going to come out. She's going to kiss Travis Kelce. He's going to propose to her. And then the proposal, she's going to endorse Joe Biden.
Yeah.
A bunch of like baseball coach dads in Missouri have that. I think that's actually going to happen.
Yeah.
It's rough seeing your team lose. I know I see my team lose all the time. I'm a Jets fan. I live in stuff like you guys are encountering suffering. I lived in it. I was raised in it. I was bred by it.
Yeah. Admittedly, the only memorable thing for me as somebody who didn't watch the Super Bowl and was recording Let's Plays during most of the Super Bowl, honestly, was seeing that the Deadpool trailer dropped, the tease for Deadpool and Wolverine. I was like, oh, neat.
Yeah,
we were just talking about that.
It's pretty good. I'm interested to see what happens with it. That being said, final shout out was this is just happened to be Lunar New Year yesterday. We're recording this on Sunday, so it was yesterday. Massive.
I thought Lunar New Year's.
So Friday.
You celebrated early?
No. Friday night is like New Year's Eve.
Gotcha.
So Friday night into Saturday. Festivities were happening Friday and Saturday as part of it. It's it is. I ordered a crap ton of dumplings from Happy Bao. Shout out to Happy Bao over in the Met King Plaza in Mesa, Arizona. just the absolute best dumplings. I had such a great time enjoying those. Like I have some photos. I almost posted them, but I was like, I'm not really feeling up for posting. Like I'm in a place right now mentally and emotionally where like I'm not exactly in the most like jovial mood. It's just a matter of just wanting to give a shout out to those because of course it was the new year and eating dumplings on New Year's, like, you know, Chinese New Year's, or sorry, Lunar New Year's Eve. I grew up in a Chinese, like with the influence being from Chinese specifically. So I apologize if anybody thinks I'm mischaracterizing. It's because that's how, this is weird to say, that's how I was raised, to call it that. But to appreciate the grander spectrum of, Asian culture, happy Lunar New Year to everybody.
Cool. You can follow me at Trevor J. Starkey, and since Cam didn't shout out any of our actual like podcasts or anything, I'll do that instead. So shout outs to that D Plus show this last week, where we were joined by Logan to discuss the Marvels and kind of where that movie kind of falls apart, but also the highlights of that movie. Definitely still has some. And then shout out if you like my Dondoko Island discussion, that'll be, you'll be able to see some of that firsthand in a few weeks' time, as my ongoing Let's Play series Tuesdays and Thursdays, where as of recording, 4 episodes have been released. I've recorded 16, so I've got another good handful of weeks to go, and with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth right around the corner, maybe that'll also be a Let's Play series. I don't know. So it might end up being like, oh, maybe we'll have, multiple Let's Play series going in tandem as we did a little bit last year. So who knows what the future lies in store in that regard, but definitely stay tuned for that. youtube.com/thatnerdysite for all those Let's Plays coming out this year. You can follow all of us over at That Nerdy Site or go to thatnerdysite.com for all the latest from us. If you like what you heard, please rate, review, like, subscribe, share the podcast with your friends, all that fun stuff. As always, thank you for listening. Stay nerdy and be good to each other.